So in this video, we are looking at some practical examples of annuities and how we can use annuities and where we see these sort of in day-to-day life. Now, one common place where we see annuities is in loans. Now, loan repayments are examples of annuities, and in a reducing balance loan, which we've talked about previously on this channel, as the payments are made, the balance owing is reduced, and therefore the interest charged is reduced. So how these basically work is you are making regular payments on this loan, so it basically takes down the amount owing you have left. But in doing that, interest gets added. So it's kind of this back and forth between you're making these payments, some interest gets added, but then you continue to make the payments, and eventually you will pay off the loan. And as you go, the balance owing will go down. So the interest then will go down as well. So going straight into an example to see how this looks, it's saying that Jessica takes out a car loan for $24,000 with this interest rate, compound interest, and agrees to make a regular yearly payment of $5,500 over 6 years. Now, a table for this annuity is shown below. So we haven't made our first payment here. So there's no payment made, no interest paid, no principal reduction. And the balance of our annuity is $24,000. So after the first payment gets made, we make our payment, our interest is charged, so 10% on 24,000, which is 2,400. Then what we have is what we call a principal reduction. Now, our principal reduction is the difference between our payment paid and our interest paid. That is basically what we're taking off the amount owing, okay? Because remember, I said that we're making payments, that's taking money off the balance, but interest is getting paid, which is adding back onto the balance. So what we're actually taking off from the loan is the difference between these two. And it makes sense then that our balance is going down because we're paying more than we're getting charged interest. So that is what we mean by principal reduction. Now, in the first example, it's saying that to determine to the nearest cent the interest paid when payment 1 is received. So all we have to do here is just look at the table. So after payment 1 has been received, the interest paid is $2,400. In part B, it's saying what is the principal reduction when payment 3 is received. Here we're just looking at the table. We can see that that's this value here. So we have $3,751. Next one is saying the balance of the annuity after payment 4 has been received. So after payment 4 has been received, the balance is $9,612.90. And part D is saying the value of the last payment if the balance of the annuity is to be 0 after the 6th payment is received. Sorry, that's cut off down the bottom here, but that's meant to be payment is received. Now, remember, we said this in a previous video. At the end of these 6 payments coming through, we still have $81.61 to still pay off. But this person has agreed for this to be paid over 6 years. So that very last payment will be $5,500 plus this extra bit that we need so that we can kind of fulfill this agreement with the bank or the lender. We have to pay back the full amount at the end of the 6 years. So this part will get added onto our very last payment. So our final payment for part D is $5,500 plus $81.61. And that gives us $55,081.61. So, part E, it's saying the total amount of interest paid. Now, the total amount of interest paid, we are just adding up each of these values. And as you can see, based on our sort of key idea up here, the more we pay off the loan, as we pay it off, the interest goes down because this interest, this 10%, is getting charged on this balance every single time. So 2,090 is 10% of this. 1,749 is 10% of this. This is 10% of that. So our interest paid is going down as our balance of the annuity goes down as well. But the last part, our interest just equals 2,400 plus 2,090 plus ... We can just add them all together. So pause this video. You can do this on your calculators if you'd like, but I'm just going to go straight into the answer. When we add all of these up, these interests, we get $9,081.61. So we have paid off the $24,000, but we've also had to pay an extra amount in interest. But these are basically the mechanics for how a loan, an example of an annuity, will work. We are reducing the balance owing. We're making payments here. We're getting charged interest on the balance from the previous payment. And then we are getting some kind of principal reduction. So as the interest paid goes down, there's less interest to be paid, we are taking off more off the principal. So our principal reduction is higher because the difference between the interest paid and the payments made, because the payments made are always the same, that's what we negotiate with the bank or lender. These stay the same, these go down because you're charging interest on a smaller amount every single time as the loan gets paid off. That brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.